your husband is?
No idea, not a clue. He could be anywhere.
When was the last time you saw him, Mrs. Colby?
Well, let me see. Today is Thursday. It was 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks?
Yes, it was the time of the harvest moon. I remember saying, "Look, Clive, there's the harvest moon." And he didn't answer. And I was extremely miffed at the time, but now I realize he wasn't even here. It just goes to show you shouldn't jump to conclusions.
So, Mr. Colby has been missing for 2 weeks, and you never reported this fact to the police?
Oh, no, he's a very private person. I wouldn't want police intruding on his personal life. Would you care for some coffee, Detective?
No, thank you. Mrs. Colby, you don't seem especially concerned about your husband's disappearance.
Oh, I am very concerned. But I tend to be a worrier, so I don't give it much weight.
I see.
Besides, this is not unusual for Clive. He's a whimsical fellow, possessed of idiosyncratic urges that sometimes defy description. Once he walked out on us in the middle of Christmas dinner and called 3 days later from British Columbia. He was trying to join up with the Mounties. You can imagine we had a good laugh over that one.
Mrs. Colby, we have reason to suspect that the circumstances here are a little more serious than that.
I should hope so.
We've spoken to your neighbors, and they reported some type of disturbance here the night that your husband disappeared.
Really? Here? How
Yes.
strange.
They said there was a lot of shouting, profane language, strange animal noises.
Animal noises. Oh, that's so interesting. Would you care for some apple juice, Detective?
No, thank you. Now, did you and your husband have any sort of disagreement that evening?
Oh, no. We were in perfect concordance. We were always invariably engaged in placid and serene self-satisfaction.
There was no shouting?
Shouting. I can explain that. Clive is a little hard of hearing, and I may have raised my voice a tad just to ask him if he wanted what kind of topping on his ice cream frappe.
There was an overheard statement, and I'm quoting here. "Fat cow, I'll show you who's a fat cow."
I can explain that. You see, we were playing a little game in the privacy of our bedroom, the details of which are a little salacious and not at all relevant to this investigation.
Perhaps not. But the words in question were spoken in the living room.
Well, we were moving around. It was spirited fun.
The neighbors reported shouting, lights going on and off, some sort of violent struggle with the Venetian blinds.
That was Clive. He was pretending to be a parrot.
A parrot.
Yes. We were playing the parrot and the cow.
I see.
And of course, he was jumping around on the furniture, scratching the blinds. He knocked over 2 of my best lamps. It was really quite comical and profoundly erotic.
I see.
Care for a muffin, Detective?
No, thank you. Now, Mrs. Colby, we looked in on some of your credit purchases in the last 2 weeks and discovered a bill from Home Depot for a load of mixing cement, which was delivered to this address. 40 sacks of cement, to be precise.
40 sacks. Well, that sounds about right.
On the face of it, that's a lot of cement, Mrs. Colby.
Well, you see, I can explain that. You see, I design bird baths for a hobby.
Bird baths.
Yes, I make the bird bath molds myself. I mix the cement, pour it in, let it set, and voila.
I didn't notice any bird baths in your
Oh,
backyard.
no, I give them all away. I give them to friends, to family, to passers-by. For me, the joy is in the creation.
What I did notice out behind the garage was a very large cement plot, about 3 by 6 feet, which appears to be quite freshly laid.
That would be the excess cement. Oh, there are so many false starts in birdbath construction. You have no idea.
Apparently not.
No, I'm thinking of building a shrine to Saint Anthony out there.
I see.
Would you care for some sardines?
No, thank you. Now, forgive me for pointing this out, but it's my job to pick up on any discrepancies. And there appears to be a very large shovel tucked behind the couch here.
Oh,
Now, am I to assume that that's the customary spot for your heavy garden tools?
not as a general rule, but I use this one for brushing away the cobwebs that gather in the vestibule.
Most people would use a broom for that purpose.
I suppose they would. More fools they.
I have observed that on the whole, you do keep a very tidy home, Mrs. Cole.
Oh, thank you, Detective.
Which makes that stain on the carpet there all the more conspicuous.
Stains? There are stains.
Yes, right there.
Ah.
It looks for all the world like dried blood.
Why, yes it does, doesn't it?
But I take it it's not.
Oh, of course, my stars, no. Why, that's chocolate.
Chocolate?
Yes. Oh, we had a box of Godiva chocolates around here for the longest time. And about 2 weeks ago, I dipped into it and I couldn't stop. And I must have dropped a praline crunch on the floor. I wondered what happened to that.
Excuse my presumption, ma'am, but that doesn't look like Godiva chocolate.
Oh, yes, yes, it is. Why, look, Detective. Why, here, look, you see, it still retains that rich, decadent flavor. Would you like some?
No, thank you. But when I say it doesn't look like Godiva chocolate, I'm referring to the fact that it looks more like, how shall I say this? Nestle's.
I beg your pardon.
In the course of my various investigations over the years, I have had occasion to make a comparative study of the grades and qualities of foreign and domestic chocolates. This has a decidedly processed milk chocolatey look, Mrs. Colby. How do you explain that? Or can you? Yes?
You have caught me out, Detective. I should have known better than to try to hoodwink a man of your acute perspicacity. Yes, it's a Kit Kat bar. Oh, my secret is out. I am given to eating chocolate from candy stores on the sly. Oh, if the girls at the country club could only know this. Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
There, Mrs. Colby. Don't be hard on yourself. Many a decent citizen will resort to lies and prevarications when social pressure is common to bear. Needless to say, this shall be our little secret.
Oh, I'm so grateful, Detective. You are a man of rare delicacy and perception.
Yes, I suppose I am. Well, I guess everything else checks out. Thank you for your time, ma'am.
And thank you so much for standing by.
Oh,
Yes.
one more thing.
Yes.
This game you mentioned,
Yes.
the parrot and the cow,
Yes.
does it have to be a parrot?
No, it could be, why, it could be anything so long as the usual rules obtain. It could be, you could be a snake, a duck, what you will.
I see. Well, we'll be in touch.